Welcome, everyone, to our fourth in the series of zero waste lifestyle webinars that Sustainable Westchester proudly presents every quarter or so. And today we have a great topic where we are going to learn about repair cafes as well as take it or leave it sheds that are two amazing ways in which communities can prevent great valuable items from ending up in trash, whether it is at landfills or incinerators. And this is not just about reducing waste. This is more than that. This is having a mindful approach towards the stuff that we have in our homes. And if we don't use it anymore, then there is someone else out there who might find it useful and would treasure it. So with that, we would like to jump right in. I am the host for today. Next slide. Please, my name is Neha Dhanik. I'm with Sustainable Westchester. Our nonprofit organization serves the municipalities in Westchester as well as the county government. And we bring forth sustainable focused solutions that all the municipalities and the county can implement for their residents. We came into being in 2013, and since then we have added so many amazing programs that we offer that touch upon energy, transportation, and now waste, as well as landscaping. Next slide, please. The next one. Okay. So in the waste sector, we launched a very innovative program called Recycled Right, which is a website as well as mobile phone platform. And basically what it does is provides information around recycling and sanitation pickups in an easy to find way, so that there is lesser confusion amongst residents on what to do with their stuff. Next slide, please. This is an example to show you what is in that app that you are seeing. It has a feature called Recyclopedia. And if you want to, let's say, discard a t-shirt, you simply enter it into the search box and it gives information exactly as you would like to use it. Next slide, please. So not only that, it also tells you, where are the nearby locations where you can go and drop off and, send it for donations. And these are sometimes municipal approved locations, sometimes private entities who want to also, take in your stuff. So Recyclopedia basically is a great tool for residents to gather as much information as possible to move things away from trash and into use again. Next slide, please. Now, having our technology taken care of, there is still so much that we can do to prevent things from ending up in trash. And we are here, as we know, to learn about these two amazing concepts. Next slide, please. So I'm so honored to introduce our speakers for today. We have, first of all, Sarah Wilson. She heads the Green Team at Grace Lutheran Church, which hosts the Yorktown Repair Cafe. She is the treasurer and an executive committee member of Sierra Club of Lower Hudson Group, representing members in Putnam, Rockland, and Westchester counties. She serves on the board of two local grassroots environmental groups, Yorktown 100 and Sustainable Putnam. And she's on the Yorktown Climate Smart Communities Task Force. Also, she tells us that she was clever enough to marry a Mr. Fix-It. Our second speaker, Philippine, was born in the Netherlands, but now calls Bedford her home. She is an artist and a great one at that, if you have seen any of the beautiful flyers that she has created for Healthy Yards campaigns. And on that note, she is also a professional landscaper. She co-manages the Healthy Yards as well as the Leaves Alone campaigns at Bedford 2030. And she clearly is in love with everything that lives in the backyard. With that introduction, I'm going to ask our first speaker, Sarah, to take it away. Welcome both of you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Okay, it's not advancing. There we go. All right, I'm so happy to be speaking today about repair cafes in the Hudson Valley. So what is a repair cafe? It's a free meeting place where you can bring your beloved but broken items, and our talented volunteers will try to fix them for you. And this is not a drop-off facility. You are engaged with the volunteer. This happens to be my husband, Bob, in this photo. And you can see the person who brought the item in and one of the other volunteers are really engaged, trying to understand what he's doing, how he's doing it. If you don't have anything to bring in for repair, you can come in and help with the repair. You can grab some coffee or some tea, or you can help us check in visitors. So repair cafes were brought to the Hudson Valley by John Wackman. He founded one of the first repair cafes in the United States in New Paltz, New York. He's helped to start repair cafes throughout the entire Hudson Valley. He acted as a coordinator, communicator, and cheerleader for repair cafes in the Hudson Valley, in the Catskills, and in the Capital District of New York, and even was known in the repair movement globally. In their book, John and his co-author Elizabeth Knight focused on community repair, the wisdom of repair, the sustainable aspects of repairing, the adventure of opening a device and seeing what's inside of it, and the right to repair, which is being advocated in many different countries. So we were inspired by John and his movement and the repair cafe movement globally to bring the repair cafe to Yorktown. Up until then, Ossining, I see our friend Gunnell on the call today. Ossining was the only community in Westchester that had a repair cafe. So how did I begin? Well, I spoke to John. I got a guide from repaircafe.org. I visited Ossining to find out how they were organized. And I actually spoke to some of their volunteers. The two volunteers shown in these photos, Frank and Janet, were both volunteers in Ossining. They agreed to come to Yorktown to help us out. And they've come to every single Yorktown Repair Cafe since. So they've been steady volunteers over the 10 repair cafes that we've held in Yorktown. We recruited other members of we held it at a church. So we got permission to use the space. We recruited members of the congregation and people I knew in the community. We tried to publicize it. In our very first event, we had 12 volunteers, 22 attendees, and we worked on 37 items. So lessons learned from our first repair cafe and subsequent ones. You have to be organized. It's important to have a process. So through repaircafe.org, the global organization, we got check-in forms. We had forms to be able to collect attendee data. And there's a liability waiver that we ask our attendees to sign, that they're not going to hold us responsible or sue us if we can't repair their item, or God forbid, we leave it in worse condition than when they brought it in. We thought it was important to establish a quarterly cadence, and that way people knew that if they had a broken item, that it would only be no more than 3 months before they could bring it in to get it repaired. So hopefully establish that routine of, oh, I know there's a repair cafe coming up soon, so let me just set it aside rather than throw it out. And then, of course, by setting that cadence, we were able to establish the dates a year in advance. So, we put together, for example, a signboard here that listed all 4 dates coming up in the year, and we could post that periodically around town. And then the month before, we would send out emails to prior attendees, to our volunteers, and to the newspaper and the various events calendars. And then, of course, a week before, we would go around town putting up signs saying, "This coming Saturday, Repair Cafe." So again, July 2018 was our first event. We held 2 in 2018. And so these are photos from 2018. You can see one of our volunteers with a clock and a lamp. And here's my husband working on 2 lamps. And then here's me checking in a couple with a mermaid lamp. So lamps are our most popular item, far and away. Most people bring in 1 or 2 lamps. This is a photo of Rhoda, one of our visitors. She brought in this doll, and her dog had gotten a hold of the doll and had chewed up the leg and actually detached it from the doll. So our volunteers came together. We had our sewing specialist and our gluing specialist both worked together to restore Rhoda's doll. She was very happy. Here are some photos from our events in 2019. We held 4 events. We added in giving advice on houseplants, photo of our various volunteers. Again, more lamps, more lamps, more lamps, lots of lamps. This is Maria. Maria brought in a Kate Spade handbag, and it had a broken hinge. And so we ended up having 3 of our Repair Cafe volunteers. We had Nick, who's a woodworker, my husband Bob, who's Mr. Fix-It, and our jewelry volunteer, Jean. And so they all pooled their talents, and we were able to help Maria get her handbag fixed. So a couple of photos in 2020, we were, off to a bang. And then obviously, who knew what was going to happen come March? So with the onset of COVID, our church facility shut down, and therefore we were not able to hold repair cafes in either April or July of 2020. And then we finally realized, well, even if the building is shut down, we can do it outdoors. And so we pivoted to an outdoor model in October 2020. You can see that we set up canopies. There was lots of separation between the various repair stations, and everybody at the repair cafe was masked. So we felt very comfortable both for the volunteers and for the attendees that we were doing this in a safe manner, but could still bring this valuable activity to the community. It was a little bit drizzly that day, but thankfully no heavy rain. Another thing that we added as part of our COVID precautions was adding a sign-up sheet. And so we used a free program called SignUpGenius, and it really worked out well. And even when things were, come back to normal, I think we'll probably retain this because it allows our arrivals to be spaced out. Our arrivals can see when there are busy slots and when we're less busy, so they can plan their arrival accordingly. It gives our volunteers an idea of what's going to be coming through the door, and it helps to collect a lot of the attendee data in advance, who the person is, what their email address is, what they're bringing in. So it streamlines the check-in process when they arrive. So we didn't hold an outdoor event in January of 2021. It was a little too cold for that, but we came back in the spring. And so April 21, we were back outdoors, and there was a lot of pent-up demand, had a lot of people come in April. This is actually not a lamp, it's a makeup mirror, a lighted makeup mirror, and a radio. So July 2021 was our most recent repair cafe. We actually have one coming up tomorrow as well. But when I compare July 2021 to July 2018, we've held a total of 10 repair cafes. I think the key idea is it's been pretty consistent. While we've moved and obviously had to make some changes, we've moved to hybrid, indoor, outdoor, and with masks. On average, we've had about 12 volunteers for each repair cafe, a pretty consistent number of attendees, and a pretty consistent number of items coming through the door. It varies, from quarter to quarter, but in general, we kind of hit the ground running in 2018, and we've continued since then. This happens to be the pastor of the Grace Lutheran Church, so even he rolls up his sleeves and helps out. Our stats for the 10 repair cafes that we've held, we've looked at a total of 432 items. So on average, that's 43 items per repair cafe. Far and away, the biggest category are electrical appliances, as I mentioned, including lamps. And when we look at what the success has been, this is whether it has actually been repaired, whether it was repaired to a degree, whether we're not quite sure whether it's going to work or no. Together, 75% of the items that have come through the door have either been fully or repaired to a degree. So that's 3 out of 4 items, which I think is pretty good. So one of the first questions that actually my husband asked when I asked him to volunteer is, well, wait a minute, aren't we taking business away from repair shops? And the answer is really the opposite. When I think about, where would Maria have brought that handbag to have the hinge repaired? And where would Rhoda have brought her doll to have that leg sewn and glued back on? If not for a repair cafe, these items would have likely ended up in the trash. So the people who visit repair cafes, even if there was a business that did these kind of repairs, they're usually not customers of repair shops. They typically say that they normally throw away broken items because paying to have them repaired is generally too expensive. Obviously, if the required repair is beyond the scope of what we can do at a repair cafe, we advise our visitors, to visit a specialist like a sewing machine repair shop, a vacuum repair shop, a clock or jewelry store, etc. So this is a quote from Pete Seeger. And one of the things that we do as part of the repair cafe movement is try to advocate manufacturers to be producing items that can be repaired, that can be opened without damaging the item, that don't just have plastic parts that can't be repaired. So at a repair cafe, our visitors learn there are alternatives to just putting things into the landfill or putting things into the incinerator. And repair cafes teach people to really value and see their possessions in a new light. This was at the Lewisboro Repair Cafe. Again, my good old fix-it husband, Bob, working on this pair of headsets, or this headset for this young boy. And you can see the whole family is engaged and understanding, what's broken, what needs to be done to fix it. And so really engaging everyone and appreciating the value and the happiness that the boy felt and experienced when it was fixed. And this is the last repair cafe that John Wackman attended in Bedford Hills. And the thing that really appealed to John, he had fixed this lamp for the person, but what really appealed to John was hearing the story. Why did this woman care about the lamp? Why did she want it fixed? How would it pass through her family? So it's really not just about the repair. It's about making those personal connections with people and giving them a value and a real community service. So hopefully from our brief talk today, you are excited and inspired to bring a repair cafe into your community. As I mentioned, Ossining was the first, Yorktown was second. In 2019, we expanded into a variety of different communities. And then obviously in 2020, things shut down. Hastings did start to have some virtual Repair Cafe events, which is great. And now, Yorktown and Bedford held outdoor events, as you saw. And now in 2021, Repair Cafes are again starting up, and pleased to report that Mamaroneck held their very first one this past weekend. So I think it went really, really well from what I heard. So if you want to find out where there are existing Repair Cafes in Westchester, you can go to Repair Cafe HV for HudsonValley.org, their calendar, or you can check the Sustainable Westchester events calendar. So if you're ready to organize your own Repair Cafe, which I hope you are, it's really easy. The first step is to register with repaircafe.org and get the materials. Find a location. It could be a community center, a library, a church. Identify a group that you can partner with. Maybe it's your conservation group, a Lions Club, a church congregation. Register with Repair Cafe HV. Contact me. I'm happy to share my experience with anyone who wants to start a Repair Cafe, and I'll even lend my husband to be a Mr. Fix-It at your event. And then lastly, we want everyone to spread the word and grow the movement. So I'm really looking forward to answering your questions in a little while, but right now I'm happy to turn it over to my friend Philippine, who's going to talk to us about Take It or Leave It.
Hi, everyone. I hope everybody hears me okay. I want to thank Sarah. She is really doing so much work for the Repair Cafe with her husband, and I am a big fan. And also the TOD and the Repair Cafe make an awesome duo, because obviously when people donate stuff, a lot of things need repair. And it is terrific if you have a Repair Cafe in combination with a Take It or Leave It shed. Also, just like the Repair Cafe, the Take It or Leave It is a grassroots initiative for residents. Both initiatives are free and both help us reduce our waste. Next. Sarah, can you give me the next slide? Yes. So what is a TOD or Take It or Leave It? It is actually a place that looks very much like a thrift store, but visitors can take what they need or what they like for free. Next. Swapping items is a very old concept. And but with today's problems with our waste, a thing like a swapping place is or it has become very actual again. And that is also why Bedford 2030, with its waste force, was looking into the idea of creating a TOD shed. And we decided to visit a much longer existing TOD shed in Chappaqua. You can see that here. Left is us as Bedford 2030, and in the middle is a picture of Bill Kubler, who has been leading and managing the Chappaqua Take It or Leave It shed for, I think, almost 20 years now. So we were really visiting to see if we could copy that same concept in Chappaqua to Bedford. Next one. So apart from the Chappaqua Take It or Leave It shop, we have one other initiative, another Take It or Leave It initiative called the White Plains Take It or Leave It shed. In Chappaqua, they have their shed on the parking lot of the train station, and in White Plains, it's located at the recycling center. Next. TOD shed, shop, whatever you call it, it really doesn't matter. What does matter is you have to have a location and you have to have volunteers. And then you can decide for yourself how often you want to do it, for what type of items you want to do it, things like that. That's all up to you and the volunteers you have to decide together. Next one. So when we had found enough volunteers or people that were committed to help us with the shed in Bedford, we started looking for a place. And in that we also copied Chappaqua. We found a place in our parking lot right behind the train station in a corner that was not used. And the MTA gave us that for use. So that was our place to build our shed. Next one. So our town and Bedford 2030 together collected the money that was needed to order a shed. And the volunteers, here you can see us, we were building the base for the shed first. And the next one. And here our shed was brought. Okay, next one. So a half year after we visited the Chappaqua Tioli shed, we had our own shed. And here is the opening. And we were just with a handful of people then. Next one. And today we have a huge crowd every Saturday. And I would say there are 3 people involved with the sheds. We have the donors, the people that donate the items. We have the visitors, like you see in this picture. And next one. You have the volunteers. And I am managing the shed now for 4 years. And I actually never think about the visitors or the donors, and I'm thinking about my volunteers the whole time. Next one. You know, running a shed really depends all on the volunteers you have. And it's a real challenge to find people willing to work, you know, every Saturday for free. But I'm happy to say that we have now a awesome team, and some characteristics for volunteers are popping up in the slide. Let me read together with you. What makes a good volunteer? Love of garage sales. You have to be able to organize. You have to like to work together, and you shouldn't mind to get a little dirty. I think that's very important to remember, because a lot of people start a Tioli shed with a focus on environment, but I think it's really important that you gather a group of people that loves, you know, to work with all these items. So this is the next slide, and this is actually something that came to us as a surprise, but once we were running, we found out that it's very easy to connect the things in the Tioli shed with local activities. So here you see a few. We've done school supply programs, holiday decoration programs. We had candle making, and we all used, you know, things that we had in the shed. And then we started to connect the repair cafe to our Tioli shed as well. Next one. So this is another thing that sort of came out of working with the Tioli shed, is we sort of created connections with existing organizations or libraries. Here's a community center, and then you also have Bedford 2030, who always stays close. They always have a presentation table near the Tioli shed. Part of our mission is to make donors and visitors understand that the shed is part of this bigger effort to reduce waste in our town. And so we find it very important to communicate about waste at the shed as well, not just, you know, giving people things or accepting donations, but also really to engage in a communication about waste. Next one. Well, what Sarah mentioned about competition from maybe repair shops, we have the same thing with thrift stores. Well, thrift stores are a very important component of the effort to reduce waste. So we really appreciate them. And we actually invite people that have thrift stores to come to the Tioli shed. If they want to browse items and take them to their own thrift stores, they're very welcome. And we have actually 2 volunteers that are working at the shed every weekend as volunteers, and they also work for our local thrift store, and they take the items there so they can be sold and the money can be used for good causes. So it all connects, and we really don't have ever be afraid of that we were running out of items. We always have a ton of donations. Next one. So Coverdig also hit us, of course, like everyone. We had to close our sheds, and we actually felt that there was actually a growing need for things to donate, because people were cleaning up at home, but also people that were indoors, you know, they needed extra games, puzzles, things to entertain themselves. So we set up this Facebook group. Next slide. And that really took off. So there are now a lot of people using the Take It or Leave It Shed Bedford group on Facebook to exchange items that might not even know us as a shed. My experience is I've been trying to get rid of a couple of things, and you post it, and it's, you know, you find somebody that's interested in it almost right away. For us, it's also a great advantage because we can direct people that come to the shed that have, for example, big furniture or things that we have too many of. We can direct them to the Facebook group and ask them to put it there. So they don't have to trash it, but they can just take it, and we don't have to store it because we have no room to store big items. Next one. So this is a picture from the last season, and we were fully open again and busier than ever. Okay, next one. So I want to finish with a couple of things you have to be mindful of when you start a shed. First of all, there's going to be dumping. So if you have a shed, people here that they can donate things, but you know, they might not be able to come on a Saturday morning at a certain time, and then I think it's all right to just put their stuff in front of the door. Although we have a big sign that says them, that tells them not to do. We even have a fake camera. We have to deal with stuff that's been put in front of the doors anyways. So that's something that's just gonna happen. The next one is items that are so numerous that it's difficult to deal with them. These items are, you know, they're generally baskets, frames, and I would say customized items as well that have names on it, or birthday themes, things like that. They're very, very difficult to get rid of. What else is there on the list in the slide? Oh yeah, seasonal decorations, vases too. And school binders are a real, strangely enough, a real problem. Luckily, let's go to the next slide already. Yeah, let's take the next slide. So since we had to deal with items that were really not very useful for us, we made a card. And the idea is really to inform people what they can bring, but also if we can't accept an item, what can they do with that item? So a little bit like the Recyclopedia that Nia mentioned. This is a card that has all kinds of waste solutions locally. Most of them are on the back of this card, locally, that are locally available to them. So the Bedford 2030 Waste Task Force, with which it all began, they worked really hard to find waste solutions for almost everything in our town. And I would advise everyone who starts a Tioli shed to look for those local existing solutions first, because that will help you understand what type of Tioli shed your town needs. Just as an example, I'll give you here, we have book bins. We knew that we couldn't have the books in the Tioli shed, it's just too small. So we arranged for a place where people could bring books. And we have actually almost an answer for everything that people bring to our shed or want to get rid of. Yeah, that's it, I think. Of course, just like Sarah, I'm very happy to answer questions. And oh yeah, I wanted to say one thing, because some people might be listening and thinking like, oh, I want to do this in my municipality. But if you don't have enough people, you're very welcome to help us, help another repair cafe, help another municipality as well. I mean, we're all neighbors, but we can visit these things, each other's initiatives as well. It is not limited to our town borders. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Neha,
Thank you.
I'm going to stop sharing.
Yes. So with that, we are towards the end of our webinar for today. And again, we are so thankful to our speakers, Sarah and Philippine, for doing what you do and beyond. And we will take a lot of lessons from here. We will share this widely through our channels at Sustainable Westchester and on our website, as well as social media, so that the information reaches in the hands of people who can spread this further. With that, I would like to thank you all for joining us today, and have a great weekend, everyone. And here's to Repair and Take It or Leave It sharing stuff. Thank you.